Welcome to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show. It's always fun when we have our buddy Bill Moulder, local historian, on, and so and we do several shows with Bill because there's so much history to talk about in our area. And in this show, we're going to be talking about towns in the area prior to the dam. And there's a difference.
There is, because a lot of these are no longer there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it makes sense, right? When the lake comes in, they flooded the area. A lot of those towns were...
Well, and not even that, but due to the lake and the changing of roadways, towns disappeared.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I love history, so I love talking with you about this. So let's look at this map from Missouri, 1821.
This is when we become a state.
Right.
1821.
Okay.
Missouri was no longer a territory.
So it was, but what you notice is that it's pretty big, wide open, right?
It is. If you look at the bottom half of the map, that big river you see there is actually the Osage, the one that's highlighted, and not the Missouri.
I was wondering about that.
I have yet to have a good explanation of why that one's highlighted in that map. But you're looking at what we were in the counties we were when we become a state. Now, of course, it all changed. And if you recall, in a couple of episodes ago, we dropped a little teaser about an explorer.
Yeah.
And I said it was not Lewis and Clark, because they did not come up the Osage in their travels.
Right. They were on the Missouri.
They were on the Missouri.
Yeah.
There was a guy that, in my opinion, was a better explorer than even those guys. And they named a mountain after him.
Who's that?
Colorado.
Real Pike?
Zebulon Pike.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Wow, I get an A.
You do. You paid attention in history class.
I did. I love history.
Zebulon Pike was told by the same guy, Jefferson, through Wilkinson, which there's been a lot of contention about this General Wilkinson, and did he actually kill Meriwether Lewis?
Really?
Did he murder him? Yeah. But he said, listen, we want Pike, we want you to go to the headwaters of the Mississippi. And he did. He went all the way up to Lake Itasca in Minnesota, found the headwaters. He did such a good job. In 1806, Wilkinson said, listen, I want you to go up the Osage out west and explore out there. And he did. Pike was really, in a sense, a better explorer because he covered more territory and he found more things. Now, he got in a lot more trouble in his travels, but he come right up the Osage, and he kept journals that were every bit as good as Meriwether Lewis's. And you can actually get a hold of a copy of those, and you can see what he was look through his eyes at the Osage River Valley, and you can actually, if you pay attention and look at the drawings close enough, you can actually figure out where he was on what is today Lake of the Ozarks.
Wow, how cool is that? So, and here's another map. This is Camden County about 20 years later in 1841.
This is when Camden County became Camden County.
Okay.
We went from attached to Gasconade initially as a territory part of St. Louis County. Then we were attached to Gasconade. Then we were part of Howard. Then we got to become Kinderhook County, which went down into what is today's Laclede County. And then they split that again and said, okay, it's Camden County, named for the Earl of Camden. And as you look at this map, the big thing that jumps off the page to me, there's no towns to speak of listed.
Yeah.
It's empty, which really does describe what this area was like. Even though we had the Osage River going through it, that was still going upstream. You were still following that to get to the points west. So you did not have a bunch of towns. This was empty. And as you look at Camden County today, you think, well, there's Camdenton, there's Sunrise Beach, there's Osage Beach. Those are all new places.
Yeah.
They've only been around since around 1931.
Wow, really fairly new.
Right. They followed the lake flooding.
Wow, how about that? Okay. So, we're looking at like Lynn Creek. You look at Lynn Creek, and a lot of us, I mean, most people know the original town of Lynn Creek was flooded over.
Yes, it is. It's if you go through the new town of Lynn Creek, Lynn Creek 3, as I call it, because sometimes we think of the Lynn Creek that's on up the valley. Yeah. Or excuse me, down the valley.
Down underwater now.
Underwater. There was a Lynn Creek before that even.
Really?
That was out at the very junction of the Osage and mouth of Lynn Creek.
Okay.
It's set right there about where the Pier 31 Marina sits today in that area.
I'm guessing it got flooded out.
It was being flooded by the Osage River.
Yeah.
They said this is just not acceptable. Let's move up the creek a ways.
Yeah.
We'll get away from the Osage. That's our problem, because the Osage and Niangua come together right there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of water moving downstream, especially in the spring. Well, they moved up the creek. That still didn't work.
I mean, and here's another picture. You can see it's flooded there.
That is Lynn Creek 2.
Okay.
There is actually a picture of a riverboat in Lynn Creek 1. I could not locate it. I will still want to find it again. But there's a riverboat parked in town unloading stuff in town.
Wow.
Because they could actually paddle that riverboat up into town to unload.
There's a lot of water there. And here we got the ferry at Lynn Creek, which stuck around even after they had a ferry going over the Niangua, I think, right?
There was one in that area. The one that we're looking here is about where the old toll bridge was that crossed from you'd be coming down the end of F Road.
Yeah.
So if you go down to the end of F Road, if you're a resident up there and you're wondering, why does the road just go into the lake?
Yeah.
Because the road used to. That was the old road from the north end from Versailles coming south.
Yeah, and they would ferry across.
They would come down to go across the field, get on that ferry, and come across to Lynn Creek.
Yeah.
Because they had to go to Lynn Creek to pay taxes, to do any legal business. That's where the courthouse was.
Wow.
They did eventually get very modern and built a toll bridge across there.
They had a toll house right
And
there,
toll
again,
house
where Pier 31 is.
Right at that very point.
Yeah.
That was a good crossing point, and that handled everything on the north end of the county.
Wow. And highways 5 and I think 54 went through Lynn Creek, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
5 would have been the toll bridge.
Wow. Oh, this is incredible. All right. So we're talking local history, local historian Bill Moulder with us, and we're going to continue talking about some of the towns in the area prior to the lake. We'll do that right after this.
There's nothing like summer at Lake of the Ozarks, and Hy-Vee and Osage Beach is your one-stop shop for your day on the boat and fun in the sun. We feature the lake's largest wine and spirits department, along with our lake-famous beer cave. And you'll want to check out our brand new Summer Fun Center with all your apparel, toys, coolers, inflatables, towables, and so much more. Hy-Vee and Osage Beach, voted the #1 grocery store in Missouri and your one-stop shop for an unforgettable day in the sun all summer long.
It's our most protective wash yet. Introducing the Quick Car Ceramic Wash. It's an industrial-grade polymer solution with ceramic nanotechnology, resulting in high-end, advanced scientific protection of your vehicle's finish. The Quick Car Ceramic Wash. Try it on its own or with the monthly Unlimited Wash Club today. Quick Car. Quick, easy, and professional every time. In Jefferson City and Osage Beach.
Discovered over a century and a half ago, Bridal Cave continues to amaze those who venture through it. As you tour through Bridal Cave, you'll see massive onyx formations, giant columns, and the one and only Mystery Lake. Bridal Cave's unique stalactite-adorned bridal chapel has provided a truly unique backdrop for over 3,000 couples from around the world. Bridal Cave is open daily, rain or shine. Guided tours leave every few minutes. Come explore the lake's favorite natural attraction. Explore Bridal Cave today.
Welcome back to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, talking history, having so much fun with local historian Bill Moulder here. And Bill, we're talking in this episode, you get a lot of episodes with Bill here on the Community Spotlight Show because there's so much history here. But we're talking about towns in the area before the dam.
Yes.
So before the break, we were talking about Lynn Creek. We saw a picture of the town flooding, not because of the dam, but just because the creek flooded.
Correct.
Right, all the time. And then the ferry that came down from F Road across the Osage into the Lynn Creek area.
Yes.
Okay. Later, they would put a bridge up there.
Right.
And the ferry was kind of moved over across the Niangua.
Right.
Because that was split where the hurricane deck bridge
Yes.
is now. You know, you had to have different ways to get across the water.
Yeah, it was kind of a mess. The Osage River was kind of a mess for Camden County.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, it was a challenge. And okay, so here's another early picture, small picture. We hope you can see it of Lynn Creek there. And when I go look at maps under the water of where things were before the water came, a lot of the town of Lynn Creek was on the eastern bank over there in that valley.
Correct.
Okay.
You can still see some of the. Now, everybody says that the town Lynn Creek 2 town,
right,
was completely inundated. actually up on the hillside, and I won't give away the actual location. I want people running down there and going, oh my goodness, here's where it was.
Yeah.
But there's still a couple of those buildings that do still exist.
Wow. That's so cool. All right, and then here we've got a picture of Bagnell, the town, during
Correct.
the building of the dam, and looks like it was a pretty hustle, bustle, sprawling place.
It really started, it blew up when they started building it, because
Yeah.
that was the town nearest to the construction site.
Yep.
So they took advantage of that. And let's not forget the times. We're talking the Depression era.
Yeah.
So they said, there's an opportunity for us to make money. We were really blessed as a community and an area, because even though the Depression did hurt this area, we had jobs. We had a lot of jobs. People were coming here, sleeping out in the woods just to try and get a job. They may not have had it, so they were coming from St. Louis, Kansas City, anywhere you can think of.
Yep.
And this at one time was the biggest man-made lake in the entire United States.
Wow.
So this was a big thing.
How long did we hold that record?
For several years. I'm not real sure what the biggest one is anymore, but we held that record for a long time.
I'm loving that picture, though. You got the old cars. You've got Taylor's Dam Site Cafe there, and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. And over here, here's another picture of a typical fishing camp pre-lake.
This is a pre-lake fishing camp. Now, we like to kind of believe sometimes that it took the lake to make this a tourist area.
Right.
It didn't.
No.
We were a tourist area long before that. But when I talk about tourism, I'm talking about fishing camps and hunting. And believe it or not, people would ride the train from Kansas City and St. Louis to Lebanon, which was the closest train station,
Yeah.
and then take buggies up to see Hahatonka.
Huh.
Snyder's Dream, or Snyder's Folly, depending on how you
How
want
you
to
look at it, yeah.
Then in another episode, we're going to talk even more about Snyder and his dream down there, because there's some really good stuff tied to that, and directly to Union Electric, some good stories.
There's so much history in this area. So these people that would come to this area to fish, pre-dam, right?
Correct.
I mean, obviously a lot of people come here to fish now.
Right.
But they did that before the dam on the Osage and Niangua, I'm guessing, right?
Every little creek you can think of.
Wow.
We had a great fishery. We obviously still have a great fishery, but you had spoonbill here.
Yeah.
You had, are you ready for this? We had sturgeon.
Yeah?
We still have some sturgeon in the lake.
Huh.
Good walleye, everything, catfish. That was kind of the biggest fish at the time. Was if you wanted to catch something good to eat, it was the catfish.
Yeah.
So that was a big draw for people to come here and enjoy themselves.
And that was all in the rivers.
That was all in the rivers.
Huh.
And these farmers were pretty smart, because they would rent out their barns.
Yeah.
You could stay in their barn. Some of them did have some secluded or special guest houses like this one.
Yeah.
And, as we're looking at that picture on screen, that's not the Taj Mahal.
No, it's pretty rickety.
It's pretty rickety, but
Yeah.
you could rent it out for very little, and it was right on the banks. You could walk right down from your cabin and be fishing in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
And
And
they would
that's what
rent
you wanted.
And they would rent you a boat too.
Wow. Kind of like today.
Kind of like today.
I mean, as much as they change, they stay the same.
It's true. It really does.
Huh. Well, that is so cool. So, and the Osage, the bigger river, Niangua, the smaller river here, but in the final few seconds, was one of them better for fishing, or were they both good?
They were both good. The bigger fish, like the spoonbill, the sturgeon, and things like that, the bigger catfish, preferred the Osage. As you go up the Glaze, the Nianguas, the Gravois, the water changed more clear, different kinds of bottoms to them, so you had a different fish population.
Huh, okay. Well, see, now to me, it's still just a rumor that there are fish in this lake, because I haven't really caught any, but I know people that have, so it's fantastic. It's wonderful now, the lake being the lake, but it was wonderful before. It was just very different.
It was just a different place, yeah.
Absolutely.
It still had its charm. It's always been a place that's been an attractant.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think so, but I mean, we go back to the French trappers coming upstream.
It's beautiful.
It is
absolutely beautiful. Okay, so in this episode, we got to know a little bit more about the towns in the area prior to the dam with local historian Bill Moulder. Be sure to check out the Community Spotlight Show. We'll have more with Bill and several other community leaders right here on Lake TV.